The Babylon Bee has a new documentary out about January 6th, the most deadliest day in American history. And today we have we've got Garth Strudelfudd, a journalist, here with us to describe this harrowing day, his experience, interviewing those involved with this day. It's a very serious interview that you should take very seriously. And to just set this up, I'll play you a little clip from this documentary. It's Saw 11.
We go on location. We bring you 100% true facts.
Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was murdered over 7 times.
We ask the tough questions.
Is it true that you have a Jewish space laser? This is incredibly boring. Could you explain it to me using Marvel characters?
We even go face to face with the scariest criminals you'll ever meet.
Are you the dangerous insurrection man?
Who's asking?
We're in. Into the lair of darkness I go. Darkness because he's a Republican, not because he's, never mind. Shame!
This episode is brought to you by Crowd Health. Go to joincrowdhealth.com/Allie. That's joincrowdhealth.com/Allie. Thank you so much for joining us. If you could just tell everyone who you are and what you do.
My name is Garth Strudelfudd, and I'm an investigative journalist. And I recently put out a documentary on the most deadliest day in human history, which is, as everybody knows, I'm sure your audience knows, is January 6th, 2021.
Okay, yes. And if you could just describe what you mean by that, by the deadliest day, because when I think deadliest, I think people died, but you must mean something else.
Deadly is not only death that occurs in a material sense, but death can also be a metaphor for the death of, say, democracy, the death of joy, the death of our nation. And so while technically you might be right in that there might be 1 or 2 other days in human history where more people died,
right?
Using the definition of died that is like people that don't live anymore.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It is still the most deadliest day in human history when you consider all the billions of people that will no longer experience freedom and democracy because of Trump supporters insurrecting us.
Yeah. I still remember where I was on 9/11. I was in 4th grade. I remember what my teacher was wearing. Do you remember what you were doing on January 6th?
Oh, I was crying the whole day. I was watching The View and just my normal routine. Smoothie, The View, another smoothie. And then I heard what happened, and I fell to the ground weeping. I don't remember where I was on September 11th, but I remember where I was on January 6th.
And it was on your carpet.
Yeah, just crying and weeping, and I'm sorry.
It's okay. We can move on to something else. Obviously, you didn't stay in that puddle of tears with the, soothing tones of Joy Behar in the background forever. You pulled yourself up and you said, okay, I am doing something about this. And so you made yourself another smoothie. Then what?
So, I don't make my own smoothies. I DoorDash them, so I DoorDashed another smoothie. And then I said, you know what? In this story, Trump is Voldemort, and I am Harry Potter. And what did Harry Potter do when Voldemort attacked? He fought back. He cast Expelliarmus. He cast, Attackus spell. And I, as I read a lot of Harry Potter, and that's like, it's the only literary reference I know, honestly, but it's a good one. It's the only one you need.
Even with all the bigotry from J.K. Rowling.
Well,
I don't want to derail us. I feel like,
you know what?
my audience
Allie,
is wondering.
Thank you for calling me out on that. I appreciate that.
Right.
I think I'll do better. But all my copies of Harry Potter, though, I've cut her name out of the front.
Okay.
So
Well,
it's
that's
okay.
good.
But anyway, taking inspiration from great literary figures, all these people in literary history, like Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, Ron Weasley, and the list goes on and on. You can make so many references to different works of literature, but Dobby. But these people fought back, and I decided, you know what, not on my watch. Democracy doesn't die on my watch. So I decided to make a movie where I actually go and confront these people, these dangerous criminals who almost killed me in the face.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, but.
Right. Well, all of us, in a way.
Yeah.
I died that day. You died that day. Nancy Pelosi, AOC, they all died.
Yeah. Some of them more than once.
Right. Because democracy died, and democracy is all of us. Yeah. And as you were interviewing, as you said, some of these dangerous criminals, Siaka Massaquoi, I think, is the name of one of them. Like, tell me about that confrontation.
We went to his house, and I had to take so many extra doses of medication to even work up the nerve. And just, I had all my friend, well, not friends, but work friends, work acquaintances, sending positive vibes my way as I went there. And we got to his door. He seemed aggressive and like standoffish at first. I was very frightened of him, but he did let us in to talk to him. It was a traumatizing experience. I still wake up at night thinking about that day when I confronted it, when I looked evil in its dark face.
And he was charged with 4 misdemeanors. His home was raided by the FBI because he entered the Capitol and he took a selfie.
Well, I think you're understating it a little. He stood in the Capitol doorway for 71 seconds. So.
Right.
And it wasn't just a selfie, it was a selfie video.
My gosh.
That's like a high capacity, fully semi-automatic selfie.
And did you cause him to wrestle with the fact that he played a role as a white supremacist, even as he is an individual of melanin?
I mean, I don't know that Siaka actually gets to claim that title. I think in a way he is culturally appropriating blackness by being a Trump supporter, but also being black.
Right.
Person of color.
Yes.
But I did call him out, and we confronted him, and we actually, I brought along the shame bell, which is a bell that we ring for any Trump supporter. And we forced him to walk down the street with us, ringing the shame bell.
Now, is that a bell that you use in general when you're in public, or is this only for those involved in January 6th?
The shame bell really is reserved for special occasions.
Okay.
But I will, on occasion, use it in other situations. But it is something that you don't want to take lightly. Like, you don't just use the shame bell for any. Starbucks barista gets your order wrong. Starbucks barista spells Garth Strudelfudd incorrectly. Maybe I'll use the shame bell there, but mostly I'll just keep it for very grave
for Trump
situations.
Supporters. Yeah, I don't have a bell, so I typically just kind of yell in someone's face. Like, I went to a nursing home the other day and I noticed that a man, he actually didn't have a Trump hat, but he did have like an American flag on his wheelchair, and that felt Trumpian to me. So I just kind of screamed at him in his face until he started weeping. And I I don't know. I just felt proud. And so in a way, I just think that what you're doing is so important.
Well, thank you. I was going to say that too about me.
So you also interviewed the January 6th defendant who moved Nancy Pelosi's personal lectern. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. His name is Lectern Guy, and we, under false pretenses, brought him to our studios.
What did you tell him?
We told him, "Oh, we're gonna insurrect the government. Come here. Like, we're gonna have this meeting and we're gonna overthrow the government." And he was like, "Oh, cool, I'll be there."
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. And so he showed up, and we confronted him. We asked him why he's so evil. We literally stared into the face of evil. And we actually had him reenact his terrorist crimes in front of a focus group to see how scary it was. So that, again, like, you want to talk about trauma. I had to watch him pick up that lectern and move it 20 feet. In a reenactment, live, in person. You don't recover from that.
I heard one person in the focus group actually wet themselves. Is that true?
Yeah. We started asking them, how scary is this on a scale from 9 to 10? And like half of them raised their hands and said, "I need to go to the bathroom."
Wow. That's really brave.
But yeah, Lectern Guy is definitely one of the most dangerous and deadliest criminals that America has ever seen. I don't know if you've seen the footage, but he smiles, he waves, he's wearing a beanie. He
reminds you of someone, right?
Yeah. Voldemort.
Right.
But you look at that smile on his face in that Capitol footage. That's not somebody who is just accidentally committing insurrection. That's somebody who's committing insurrection and enjoying it. And so that's why we're so happy that the FBI went after him so hard.
EveryLife is the only pro-life diaper company, and that sounds kind of stunning to say. You would think that all diaper companies would be pro-life, pro-baby, but unfortunately they're not. Many of these major companies are donating your dollars to Democrat politicians that are fighting for the right to slaughter unborn children. We don't want to be a part of that. So get your diapers from EveryLife. You don't have to compromise on the ingredients, and you definitely don't have to compromise on your values. Right now, they are donating resources to those impacted by the hurricanes, and so if you go to their website, everylife.com, you can buy their Buy for a Cause bundle. It'll help those moms that are affected by the storms. And if you order for yourself, if you order your diapers like we do from EveryLife, you can go to everylife.com, use code Allie10 for a 10% discount. Everylife.com, code Allie10. Did you find, as you were searching DC, the January 6th memorial? Because I know you were on the search for that, which is a good point. I'm not sure why we don't have one, but what did you find as you were searching?
Yeah, so we searched for the January 6th memorial, and if you watch the movie, you can follow our journey as we walk around DC, and I was moved by all the memorials there. I was moved by I love the African American Center for Art that's there, the Museum for Art.
Yeah.
I didn't go inside, but I just appreciate that it's there.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the shawarma vendors. That's another institution for us, really, in Washington D.C. But the January 6th memorial was nowhere to be found, and this was shocking to me. And this is actually something that I learned, and that your viewers and / or listeners may be interested to find out, is that they never actually built a memorial for January 6th. The most deadliest day in all of human history, and there's no memorial. World War II, that's covered. Korean War, yep, they've got one of those. Vietnam, that one's there. But I asked the tour guide, I asked at the visitor center, we brought our camera crew, and we asked them, like, where's the January 6th memorial? And he's just staring at me, and I said, the riot. And he said, oh, well, the Capitol's over here. I was like, no, the memorial. Like, where do we remember the
fallen.
metaphorical lives that were lost?
Exactly. And if you were to construct, or if you were to be, the architect for a January 6th memorial, what would that look like, you think?
Well, I don't want to spoil anything for the people that haven't seen the documentary yet, but I will. We actually built our own January 6th memorial, and no passersby were interested in stopping and paying their respects.
It's too raw. It's too raw, don't you think?
That may be true, but I think we have to face uncomfortable truths.
That's true.
We want people to be uncomfortable, and that's why we need a January 6th memorial to all the lives that were metaphorically shot in the face.
One of the greatest killers of democracy that day was a grandmother, and people have seen the footage of her. They've seen the pictures. I mean, I get chills down my spine because I'm afraid that she knows that I, as a sentinel of democracy, stand against her insurrection, that she might show up at my house. She's very powerful. She's very strong. She's very her presence is intimidating. And she was arrested. She was convicted of 4 misdemeanors. She was fined $103,000. What is your take on this woman that some people may wrongly feel sympathy for, but really should be very angry at and scared of?
Yeah, I mean, evil doesn't always appear the way that we expect it to, right? Like, we think of evil as being, Voldemort.
Yeah.
Or Voldemort's helpers, the Dementors. Like, you think they're always going to have this black face, not black like skin, but black like, dark and cloaked. And then they're going to come at you and suck away your soul force. But sometimes evil comes, it's like when you take a polyjuice potion and then you change into something else. That's like the grandmother was like Voldemort that took a polyjuice potion and now looks like a grandmother. So sometimes evil is a grandmother.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. This insurrectionist, terrorist disguised herself as a grandmother.
Yeah. But the Bible is a lie.
That's true. On January 6th, there were protesters there who they say that they were just being peaceful, that they weren't trying to do any harm, that there were even officers who opened doors for them and they just walked inside. Speaking of lies.
In the movie, in our documentary, we actually sit down and we cut it down for time, but we actually sat down and watched all 90,000 hours of footage that was released by the FBI and by the government. So we actually watched all of this stuff, and I can't tell you the number of scary things that happen in that footage, and I'll forever be changed by what I saw on those tapes. But there's a guy standing next to a tree. There are people walking. There is a guy that walks down a hallway, and this is all in the documentary, so please go see it. But there's a guy that walks down a hallway and looks around and then turns and walks the other direction.
No.
No. Like, this is something that people actually did in our capital. So you can say, oh, that's harmless, or oh, that's just walking around, or they're just taking a tour. You know who else said he was taking a tour? Hitler. I'm just taking a tour of Poland. I'm just taking a tour of France. I'm just taking a tour to Moscow in the winter, and I don't have any supplies. That is a cover for fascism.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't deny the fascism that's right in front of us. We have to unmask it, like unmasking a Death Eater, for instance.
You infiltrated a group of these fascists, what are typically known as Trump supporters, And you ask them, why are they voting for Trump? And there was at least one of them who tried to give you a very lengthy response that basically was boiled down to blah, blah, blah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, we actually, my fellow investigative reporter, Travis, that I work with, we put him undercover, and we gave him a disguise, which was a MAGA hat and a mustache. And then we sent him into a local women's Republican club to hide among them, and ask them why did they vote for Trump? Because in the movie we talked to experts, and they turned out to be, unbeknownst to me, far right extremists. Somebody named Michael Knowles, somebody named Dennis Prager, Eric Metaxas.
Yeah.
Like, these people actually turned out to be Nazis themselves. So we didn't get a ton of great material from them.
Especially Dennis Prager. Yeah, he's definitely a Nazi.
Yes. Anti-Semitic Nazi for sure. And we interviewed them, and I asked them, like, why did people vote for Trump? And they were telling me, people felt disenfranchised by the system. They were worried about the economy. Trump spoke to these concerns. It was this populist wave and I said, no, you guys are dumb. And then I said, no, we need to find out ourselves. Because as an investigative journalist, you don't want secondhand.
Yeah.
You want firsthand.
Because I'm not even a dog, and I can hear those whistles.
Right. Because they were whistling. But I talked to these Trump supporters. Travis, I was too scared, but Travis went and talked to these Trump supporters, and he recorded them with his undercover Trumpy bear, which we stuck a camera in. And they had no idea that he was there undercover at this women's Republican club meeting. And he asked them, why did you vote for Trump? Why did you vote for Trump? And speaking of dog whistles, they all said, the economy, Supreme Court picks, he doesn't like war. He keeps us safe. Like, just these things that I'm like, they're saying those things, and I'm hearing Mein Kampf.
Handmaid's Tale.
I haven't read it yet, but I do own it.
Yes, that's what I'm hearing too. I'm hearing theocracy. I'm hearing forcing people to go to church.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of those things, like, to me, I'm like, Christian nationalism alert. Woo, woo.
Next sponsor is America's Christian Credit Union. Unfortunately, in this scary world, we have to think about the prospect of being debanked or getting severed from our financial institution because of the things that we say, because of the things that we believe. You don't want to have to worry about that. Partner with a financial institution that supports your values. That's America's Christian Credit Union. This was started by a bunch of pastors who wanted to serve their congregants, and now they've expanded. They've got over 5,000 shared branches and 30,000 ATMs nationwide. For a limited time, earn $400 when you open a new checking account with qualifying activities. Plus, my listeners get an additional $100 bonus with my code Allie. America's Christian Credit Union is federally insured by the NCUA. AmericasChristianCU.com/Allie. AmericasChristianCU.com/Allie. So how did you respond to all of that theocratic, those theocratic references in the moment?
Well, our goal at as part of that particular investigation, was not to change hearts and minds. Like, you can't go into the eagle's nest and tell Hitler, hey, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna believe you. And these people are that far gone. It's like, would you go back in time and kill baby Hitler? Would you go back in time and talk to teenage Hitler or kill him? I mean, or like 20-year-old Hitler, like what age? So anyway, would I go back in time and kill baby Trump supporters? That's immoral. What was the question?
It was basically that.
Okay.
Would you kill baby? Yeah. Trump supporters.
Yeah.
So, well, Kamala Harris, she obviously is the only thing standing in the way of a fascist takeover of the White House. And I also, I'm just thinking now, it's just my wheels are turning. I don't think that it is a coincidence that he chose a running mate that looks like a Confederate soldier himself to enter into the White House for, you know, like another kind of insurrection. I'm just putting the pieces together. I don't know, but you know, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a coincidence to me. But Kamala Harris is the only one standing in the way of that.
Yeah.
And so what do you think about her role in all of this in saving our democracy?
I mean, I think that the time to do what we have been doing is now, and that time is every day. But I think, like, literally, if you don't vote for Kamala Harris, like, you might as well have been in the Capitol that day. You're as bad as those people.
There's no difference. There's no difference between someone, say they just don't want to vote, and someone who went into the Capitol on January 6th. They're the same. It's the same person.
Yeah, as, like, metaphorically, when you don't vote, you are marching into the Capitol and taking selfies, like metaphorical selfies.
Moving lecterns.
You're moving a lectern. You're putting your feet on Nancy Pelosi's metaphorical desk.
Walking down the hall, turning back around.
Like, as a metaphor, but also, like, literally.
Like, literally.
You're doing that.
Well, here we have Kamala Harris, and she says this so poignantly, just what January 6th represents. Here's SOT 1.
Certain dates echo throughout history, including dates that instantly remind all who have lived through them where they were and what they were doing when our democracy came under assault. Dates that occupy not only a place on our calendars, but a place in our collective memory. December 7th, 1941, September 11th, 2001, and January 6th, 2021.
Now, I will say, I find that to be a little insulting to January 6th because December 7th, 1941, 2,400 sailors, soldiers, and civilians were killed by Japan in the attack on Pearl Harbor. And then on 2001, you've got almost 3,000 Americans killed by Al-Qaeda. But on January 6th, infinity people were killed.
Right. And so to normalize that and say, oh, this is just like any other terrorist attack is, I mean, it's really just a way to normalize fascism and make us used to it as part of the conversation, where you're like, oh yeah, it's just a normal day in America. We're storming the Capitol again. That's fine. And that's not fine.
Yeah.
And that's the message I want everybody to hear, is that's not fine.
Even Kamala Harris. You wish that she was even stronger against January 6th.
Right. My one complaint with Kamala Harris is that she's not Marxist enough. Like, she doesn't go far enough.
Yeah.
And doesn't go far enough in condemning these acts. And like you said, that's a great point, Allie. Thank you. That it's not the same thing at all. I think we can all agree on that.
Now, there was someone who literally physically died in that sense. If you want to make the, myopic definition of death, there was one person who died and her name was Ashli Babbit. What's your thought about that?
I didn't hear. I didn't hear anything about that. Okay. I don't know anything about that.
Oh,
but she was killed by Trump supporters.
She was she was unarmed. She's a woman, and she was walking. So there's that kind of justifies it because she was walking. But the police officer shot her in the chest. So yeah, she was a Trump supporter killed by a police officer. So she was technically the only person that died that day, but like I said, she was walking. So it kind of makes sense.
I think I need to do some research on that, but I don't.
Yeah.
Look, let me fact check you and go back to the fact that millions of people metaphorically died.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the bigger issue here.
And also AOC, one of the most important figures, she also felt like she was going to die, which in some people say is worse than actually dying. And here she is describing that just gruesome day. It's thought too.
Well, that impact was so doubled that day is because of the misogyny and the racism that is so deeply rooted and animated that attack on the Capitol. You know, white supremacy and patriarchy are very linked in a lot of ways. There's a lot of sexualizing of that violence. And I didn't think that I was just going to be killed. I thought other things were going to happen to me as well.
So what sounds like what you're telling me right now is that you didn't only think that you were going to die, you thought you were going to be raped.
Yeah, I thought I was.
I mean, she's right. It was a very sexual crowd. In your research, did you find that?
Well, I don't find Trump supporters sexy at all. I think it's a big turnoff. Someone has a MAGA hat on and it's like, no, thank you. So I don't understand that. But she also pointed out, though, in her comments about January 6th, that a lot of Trump supporters weren't wearing masks. So they wanted to kill her, not only that in that instant, which they did, they killed her 7 times on that day, but they also wanted to infect her and kill her slowly with COVID-19.
Which the jury is still out. She might be, it's, you know, long COVID.
Long COVID is a death you die every day. I have long COVID.
Yeah.
And I haven't shared that with anyone before. And thank you for letting me.
Of course.
Share my journey.
Next sponsor is Lumen. Lumen is your handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. It's connected to an app on your phone that lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs, gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, your workouts, your sleep, even stress management. This can be an absolute game changer for your health. This is like the secret ingredient in whole body health, understanding your metabolism and eating and working out in a way that optimizes it. Go to lumen.me/relatable to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/relatable for 15% off. There's also Nancy Pelosi, and she says that she'll never forgive Trump, which is, you know, shocking because previously she was so supportive of him. So let's listen to her. It's thought 3.
I'll never forgive former president of the United States and his lackeys and his bullies that he sent to the Capitol for the trauma that what was exerted on our staff. These are largely younger people who come with idealism to work in the Capitol on either side of the aisle and whatever it is.
She'll never forgive Trump. Do you echo that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not only should we not forgive Trump, like we need to punish him. Now, Pelosi, to her credit, has impeached Trump 17 times since this event. And she still would be impeaching Trump to this day if we hadn't insurrected her by taking away her power. But that's why it's so important for us to vote for Democrats. And in conclusion, I think that Trump is a Nazi.
And that's what you found, just objectively, talking about the facts, because we know that Trump supporters don't deal with facts, but you and I, being on this side, we deal with facts. Just factually, what you found out through your research and interviews is that Trump is a Nazi.
Trump is a Nazi for sure. And also, like, Trump actually told everybody to go insurrect the government. And you can listen to his speech there on the day of January 6th. And You can actually watch the speech. They have it. Like, this is public record that he stands up there with a torch and a pitchfork.
Oh, wow.
And slams it on the stage. Insurrect. Like, my fascism siren is going off when I see that.
Yes, of course. And I'm glad that you clarified, because I'm so glad that you fact checked that, because I had been thinking that it was a javelin, but knowing that it's a pitchfork, that kind of changes everything.
Yeah.
It changes everything, knowing that. And it reminds me so much of when he said, again, public record, everyone can see, when he said, there's fine people on both sides. And he went out of his way to say white supremacists are fine people, enslavers are fine people. He said that over and over and over and over again. Everyone can see that. I don't know why there's even any debate.
Yeah, I mean, he says there's fine people on both sides, both Hitler and Hitler's, who was Hitler's friend's name?
Joseph
Goebbels. Hitler and Goebbels. Fine people on both sides. Fascism siren.
I hear it. I hear it. Last sponsor for the day is Patriot Mobile. Americans are tired and frustrated by a stalling economy, inflation, endless wars, the relentless assault on our values. But there are companies like Patriot Mobile that still believe in America and our Constitution. They support the First and Second Amendments, the sanctity of life, our military, first responder heroes. Take a stand for conservative causes. Put America first by switching to Patriot Mobile. You get the same nationwide coverage as the big providers because Patriot Mobile operates across all three major networks. They back their service with a coverage guarantee, and their 100% US-based customer service team makes switching really easy. Go to patriotmobile.com/Allie for a free month with my code Allie. patriotmobile.com/Allie. You also have you have a book that's coming out. And in a way, it's similar. The Babylon Bee Guide to the Apocalypse.
Yes.
Which I'm thinking, if goddess forbid, Trump wins the White House, it is going to be an apocalypse. It's going to be a fascist apocalypse. It's going to be January 6th, every day, every hour of every day, lecterns flying all over the place.
We wrote the book, and we specifically decided to release it on the week after the election, or the week, whenever it is, November 12th-ish, is when it's coming out. And we decided to put it right after the election because if Trump wins, people are going to need to know, how do I survive? How do I get food? How do I get internet access? How do I stream Netflix when the world has ended? Like, these are the essential questions that people are going to need when Trump takes over, should we decide not to go out and vote for Kamala Harris and insurrect the government metaphorically. Also, if Kamala does win, you should still go buy my book, because climate change. The world always is about to end, and we always have to be ready for it. And even if it's not Trump this time, maybe next time, goddess forbid, J.D. Vance runs. Ron.
Don't.
He who must not be named. Harry Potter reference. From Florida, if he runs, like, he's even worse than Trump. So you can never be too prepared for the apocalypse when Republicans
there's
are
COVID.
Yeah, COVID.
And there's monkeypox.
Thank you. Mpox is what.
Mpox.
Mpox is what we call it.
And so there's always a chance for the apocalypse. And so, like, what are just some tools that I know people need to get the book, but what are some tools that people could walk away with right now in case the apocalypse starts tomorrow, should Trump and his minions, you know what?
In the book, we have plenty of diagrams showing people how to do things like how to build your fallout shelter. And we used Microsoft Paint, and we actually drew an entire fallout shelter and how it's cut out into the hill. And so it's like things like a trap door so people will fall on spikes dead. A sphinx that asks you riddles. So they try to get through the sphinx. You can't answer the riddles. You can't get in my bunker. A labyrinth with a minotaur in it. And he also... do minotaurs ask riddles? I forget. I haven't read it.
I think they say the answer to a riddle, and you're supposed to come up with a riddle.
Oh, it's like Jeopardy.
Okay. So was there anything that they will get from this book that they couldn't get from watching Home Alone?
Well, no, but it would be good if you could. Oh, but Trump is in the Home Alone franchise, so you can't watch Home Alone.
I'm so sorry.
So you can
I'm so
read our
sorry.
book, Trump Free. I mean, there's stuff about Trump in it, but Trump does not endorse it the way he endorses the Home Alone franchise.
Antagonist.
Yes.
He's the antagonist in the apocalypse, in your apocalypse
Yes,
book.
exactly.
Okay. Well, I do encourage everyone, the Babylon Beat Guide to the Apocalypse, but most importantly, just to know what's at stake. And you have to watch this before the election. January 6th, the most deadliest day. The most deadliest day. Where can people find that and, share it with their friends?
They can go to babylonb.com/January6 and trigger warning, like it's got all the bad stuff in it. Walking, parading, general rowdiness, all kinds of things that happen in the Capitol that day. So we don't pull any punches. So put the kids to bed before you watch. But babylonb.com/January6, and you can sign up and watch the film.
Garth, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Before we head out, just a reminder to please buy my book, Toxic Empathy, How Progressives Exploit Christian Compassion. We go through 5 lies on abortion, gender, sexuality in marriage, social justice, immigration, and we equip you with all of the factual, logical, and biblical arguments against the progressive position and for the conservative, and what I hope to be the truly biblical position on all of these issues. You will feel so empowered and equipped. Go ahead and pre-order. We'll put the link in the description of this episode. You can get it on Amazon. That really helps. You can also get it on christianbooks.com and really wherever books are sold. Just go to toxicempathy.com. You can see all the places to order there. That's toxicempathy.com. Okay, see you guys soon.